Welcome to Syntax. Today, we're talking about building personal software. We're going to be talking about how you can build software that is just for you, runs on your network of things, and possibly anyone else you want to give this to, and stuff that, well, is kind of disposable, but at the same time, things you might not want to spend all day, every day building, because now you can just throw Opus 4.5 on it, knock it out in a couple of minutes. Next thing you know, you got a feature. My name is Scott Tolinsky. I'm a developer from Denver. With me, as always, is Wes Boss. What's up, Wes?
Yeah, man, like the amount of extremely specific apps I have built in the last, 6 months, a year is unbelievable.
It's outrageous.
And I know people like laugh at this whole like personal software thing, but like it really is true. Like normally when I would have reached for some like, crappy SaaS that covers everybody's use case, or I would have reached for a spreadsheet and had to like do something weird in a spreadsheet. I don't have to do either of those
spending
anymore.
Months building stuff. Yeah, just months.
Yes.
I worked on my Habit app for a long time, and even though there's other people using that thing, I built it for myself, and I'm still maintaining it, and it's still a big old project, where most of the stuff I've built, let's face it, in the last 4 days, which has been a number of things, which we'll talk about. When I say I built it, I mean I project managed the building of it. The number of things that have gotten done there has been like outrageously fast, and there's been a lot of like little, even like technical things that I've learned about what makes some of this stuff easy and fast. We can get into some of those strategies for this personal software as well, because I do think there's a lot of like really neat things that I've gained by doing some of this. So first and foremost, what is personal software? Why might you care about it? What is it? And it really is hyper-specific software that is tuned to your needs. Like I have a need in my life, therefore I'm going to put an AI agent on crushing out a quick project. I might not even care about the quality of the code. This isn't for public consumption. This could be just for you. And there is something about the fact that other people aren't using it and it's not exposed to the worldwide internet, or possibly not exposed to the worldwide internet.
Hopefully not.
Yes. That makes the security or the slop nature of the code more freeing. I was definitely in the camp of I need to read every line of code that AI produces for me forever, until I started working on personal software that, like, let's face it, if it's not getting off my network, what the hell do I care if it's exposing API keys or something? It's just on my computer, right? So as long as it's not deleting my files or ruining my file system, the slop nature of the code, I don't care about the slop nature of this code in particular, as long as it's functioning fine.
Especially if you build an app where you want to use API keys directly in the browser and make the requests directly from the browser. That's typically not a good idea at all. You shouldn't be putting your API keys client side. But if you're, especially just in prototyping stage, you're like, I don't feel like building some sort of like proxy to send it to the back end and get the response and hot potato it back, as you can just YOLO send those directly from the client, which again, let me specify, this is not a good idea in general, but if you are just building something that is only for you, and probably should also disable like Chrome extensions as well. You got to think about like what else might be reaching in there.
Yeah, what else might be? You're totally right on that aspect of things. It depends on where you're running, how sandboxed it is, and whatever. I'm not even talking about like API keys though. I'm just generally like talking like code quality. I don't give a shit about the code quality if nobody else is using it. If somebody else is using it, that story changes completely for me. I'll tell you that.
I care somewhat about the code quality because I've certainly built lots of stuff way too fast, and it becomes an absolute mess where I simply just scrap the entire project. But we have an episode coming up in the future of like how do you do this stuff so it actually produces code that you would want to be able to debug and work on if it comes to the absolute worst case where you have to write some code yourself.
Yeah, and I will say that AI is not writing all of this code for me. I have Zed open, I'm modifying, I'm writing code, I'm changing, especially CSS still, man. I have some tips there for my CSS stuff, but yeah. So let's talk about like the idea of like AI and personal assistant style or personal agents and building this kind of stuff, because what I started was ClaudeBot. I started a ClaudeBot, which is kind of a personal assistant that is an agent that runs on your machine. It just runs on a bun process for me. And there's a ClaudeBot gateway that really handles kind of the connections and things like that. Like you can connect it to Discord and talk to it through a Discord bot, which I'm not doing.
Let's explain what this is, because this has popped in the last couple weeks. Claude, CLAWD, like a lobster. This has very little to do with like Claude code and things. It does use that, but this is a totally separate project that allows you to create your own personal assistant.
Yeah, it is really, it is a personal assistant. And I personally have not understood why like a personal agent or assistant in AI would be super useful. I couldn't think of any use cases for it until I started using this. And I do want to stress with ClaudeBot, some of this is, you know, if you're sending your data Anthropic or whatever, you want to be careful about what you're connecting to this where. But the cool thing about ClaudeBot is they have connections to WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, or whatever, so you don't have to use their chat UI, which I don't like at all. I ended up building my own even, or the AI built one for itself. Or you can use WhatsApp, Telegram, or any of that stuff to interface with it, so you don't even have to have a chat UI for it. You can just do it through Discord. And then there's all these kind of extensions. So I connected mine to like Home Assistant. I connected it to my calendar and things like that. I connected it. I'll talk about some of the Home Assistant stuff because that was crazy. It's done a lot of cool stuff with my Home Assistant. There's a lot of neat connections you could make, and it's up to your own discretion as to what kind of sensitive information you want to give it, because there are extensions to connect it to your email inbox, and then it could send emails as you and stuff like that. So there is like a degree of what you want to, curate with this thing.
But the whole idea is that you have this bot, you can connect, obviously you connect to chat to talk back and forth with it, but then you also connect it to like tools, right? Like you said, you can connect it to GitHub and your email, iMessage, your Home Assistant, you can have it control your computer, run a browser, all of these types of things.
Yeah. And it has a browser, so it can look things up. You could have it spawn coding processes and things like that. I have mine connected to my beads, so it can project manage things. Yeah.
People are probably thinking okay, well, what's the use of that? Is that now that you just have a natural language interface via a text message, so you can do anything? Like you're away from your computer, and you could ask it to code a project, or go through your iMessages, or like filter through your email inbox and reply to things for you, right?
Yeah. And I even wrote a custom skill for it to connect to Tweak, which is my to-do list. And so every morning, it has cron baked in too, Wes. So every morning at 8 o'clock, I get a message from my personal assistant with the items in my to-do list, and then it will like start to even work on some of them. So like if I put like I need to do something, and it like I need to research something, or I can do this, it can start to give me links or create documents for that, or like help that process along. And it can notice if like something stayed on my to-do list for several days and be like, you should really do this, just giving me that encouragement, which is like kind of ridiculous. But the amount of things you can connect to it are really great. And where I found one of the cool use cases that I found with it is in Home Assistant, which yes, you might think natural language, okay, I can tell it to turn off and off my lights, whatever, right? But the coolest thing I was able to do was say, given what you know about all the devices on my Home Assistant, what are some automations that I'm not doing that you think I could have? And it gave me a whole bunch of ideas. One of which was that I have an air quality sensor in my office, and I just have it here, and I never check the data on it or anything. And it was like during business hours, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, I'll check your air quality 4 times a day. And if anything is off, I'll send you a message. And the message is in a Home Assistant prompt, like a Home Assistant alert. So that cron job is basically just saying, check the levels. Is there anything off on these levels? If not, and yesterday at 12 o'clock, it was like your CO2 in your office is 4 times higher than it should be. You should open a window. And that led me to realize my office isn't venting correctly. The mini split doesn't vent. There's nothing venting air in this office. I'm just breathing in the same air all day. So that means I got to figure out venting, or I got to just crack a window. But I had no idea that that was going on. So just that alone was really great. And another thing, I was having an automation in my Home Assistant that wasn't triggering correctly or reliably. And I said, can you investigate this? And it did. And it fixed the dang thing and gave me some suggestions. And I was like, sure, do them. And it modified my dang automations on Home Assistant.
Yeah.
So,
man,
awesome.
This LLM stuff is going to make the home automation stuff way easier, because so much of home automation is people just don't do anything with it because it's a full-time job. You're having to make all these scenes and make sure they turn on, and then if something stops working and it doesn't work, and then people manually turn off the lights, it's really frustrating. And unless you're willing to invest a whole bunch of time in this type of thing, it's the reason why a lot of people don't do it. So I got Gemini access on my Google Home. Man, it is so much better. I love it. Like there's one little command that I say every night, which is turn every light off except for my wife's bed lamp. And I previously would go and turn every room off and then turn hers back on because she'd goes to bed a little later. And now I can just say very obtuse things like turn every light off except this one and turn the white noise on. And it just figures it out. It's a little slower. You can tell that it's sending it to an LLM to process, but I don't necessarily care because it's so much better. And I've been so frustrated with my Google Home over the last year or so, and it's finally getting better.
Yeah, that rips. I had to write an automation that if it detects presence from when we're not home to when we're home, because Home Assistant can do that.
Yep.
If it detects presence in the home, like if you're arriving home, it's going to turn on lights automatically before you get into the house. It's just okay, I wouldn't have thought of that. You did it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not motion sensing, whatever. It's interesting. So ClaudeBot has been really cool. It does this gateway. You can connect it to various LLMs. The idea for me here eventually, right now I'm having it connected to Claude Opus. Claude is an Anthropic Claude. But the idea here will eventually be for me to get a beefy computer like a Mac Studio. CJ actually just got a little integrated GPU PC. That wouldn't be a bad idea to get either, but I think I want to get a really beefy Mac Studio and then have that run a much better local LLM than what I can run on my MacBook Pro, and then do everything through that instead of going off to Anthropic. Because the moment that you do that and the data's not leaving your computer, then you can give it more sensitive information, maybe even financial information, and it can do, help you with your money tracking or stuff like that, or even email, maybe give it read access.
There's one thing I have to do every 4 times a year, and that's go into every bank account that I own and export it all. And everybody tells me to use Plaid or whatever, but it's I'm not paying for that. And
no kidding.
Some of my bank accounts doesn't work. And the second I can automate that entire thing easily, I probably could automate it right now with a whole bunch of Puppeteer and clicking buttons, but it feels too dangerous and fragile, it could break when they move a button or whatever. But as soon as I can hook it up to something like this, especially with a local LLM, I think we're probably a bit of a ways away before we can get decent quality LLMs running locally without having to spend $4,000 on some hardware.
Oh, I'd probably be spending more than $4,000. I'd probably be getting into 6 territory if you're looking at the Mac Studio. But then again, that becomes, there's part of this personal software thing that is kind of flipped in my head about how I'm running my dev process in general. So I'll talk about that right now, which is that I've moved everything to a Tailscale network throughout my house, which has become really, really awesome. So I have my phone, I have my Mac Mini, I have my computer, my tablet, all connected to Tailscale. And Tailscale is basically allows you to have a personal tunnel throughout your entire network. And so what it is it becomes the VPN on your computer, your phone, whatever. And when I want to access things on my Mac Mini, it is via a Tailscale IP address. And that means that anything that's running on my Mac Mini via its ports can just be accessible via that IP without having to turn on any sort of global file sharing or stuff like that. It's just being done through Tailscale. The way I would have done some of this before, if I had a site running on something I might throw it on a Cloudflare tunnel, and then you're putting that out to the wider internet. And you could protect it with like a zero trust on that thing and have it be like a password that sends you an email. But what's so cool about Tailscale is that like it's so seamless on my phone, my computer, or whatever. And then all of these things I can access my dev sites really easily. So I have like a Vite dev server for a UI running on my Mac Mini, and then I tell Tailscale to serve it as HTTPS, because if I want HTTPS and all that stuff, I want an SSL certificate. And then Tailscale makes an actual domain for it with machinename.tailnet.ts, whatever, and then a port on whatever port you've assigned it to. And now I have a secure location on a dev server on my own network that I can access from any device. I can test it or use it on my phone, my computer, or whatever. And it took 2 seconds, and it costs free $99. I didn't pay a cent to be able to do that.
And then on your phone, what's the process of setting that up? Do you put like a VPN on your phone then?
Yeah, you really just install the Tailscale app and you turn it on. You log in, which I log in via GitHub. You turn it on, but it basically just shows all the devices that are connected through your they don't have to be on the same Wi-Fi network, which is awesome. If I'm out of my Wi-Fi network, I'm on 5G, I'm out and about, I still get access to all of my devices easily through the Tailscale VPN. Mm-hmm. And then I was typically running like a Mullvad VPN on my stuff before, but there's actually a Mullvad add-on to this. So all outward traffic to the wider internet goes through a Mullvad VPN through the Tailscale app itself.
What is Mullvad?
It's just a normal VPN. It's just like NordVPN, like one of those types of providers. Yeah.
Okay. We talked about this on our like Synology server show, but I'll quickly say how I'm doing this on myself is I'm running the Cloudflare tunnels on my Synology, and then what I can do is I can selectively opt into what, like you are doing with Tailscale, is you can opt into which machine on the network and which port you would like to then expose to the internet. But then you have the problem of like you've just exposed your local computer or local server to the global internet, right? So then you have to then put some auth in front of that. And in my case, I just use GitHub. I sign in with GitHub to be able to access any of my stuff. And it works super well. It's also free as well. But if there's something on my local network, like for example, if I'm away from the house and I don't feel like setting up like a forwarding or port or something like that, I can also use Unify Teleport. So this is Teleport runs on my router, my Unify device. And what that does is you just on your phone, you flip on the app, or on your desktop, you flip on the app, and it makes a VPN right back to your home network, and then you can access anything on your local home network, which is good because I have a 3D printer I was running some custom firmware on, and I needed to be able to look at the camera, and I forgot to expose it to the global internet so I could look at it when I was away from home, and I just jumped on Unify Teleport, and it did that.
Yeah, well, that's cool. And so you have to have a Unify router to do that?
Yeah, you got to have a Unify. So it's probably not most people. It's probably better to use something like Tailscale or Cloudflare tunnels.
I kind of avoided the Tailscale thing because I don't know why. I was like, I want to expose it to the internet. And then through this stuff, I'm like, no, wait, I don't. I don't really want to do that. I want to have it all just on my devices. And as long as I'm running Tailscale on those, it's all good.
Yeah, you want your devices to go back home, not have your home devices exposed to the global internet, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Especially for this stuff. Now, there's some things that's probably different, like my audiobook shelf or my Plex. Like if I want to give like my brother control or access to those libraries as well, then I don't want him to connect to my Tailscale network. So those make more sense for Cloudflare tunnels or to expose that port via that. But I'm not gonna open the ports. Okay, so let's talk about like privacy stuff, because you do need to make sure that whatever you're sending to the LLMs is still something you want to be sending to a third party. Again, I've experimented a bit here with local LLMs. I have Ollama running. I haven't found anything that I love yet. I think my computer needs to be a bit beefier. Now, the thing about Claudebot is that the assistant part of things doesn't need to be that good. It needs to be good, but not Opus 4.5 good. Like because you could have that assistant spawning Opus agents to work on code stuff, or you could just work on it via your normal Claude Code or whatever. So the actual personal assistant really doesn't need to be that good. It just needs to have a decent amount of context. So when I have a better computer, I will run, I think, all of the personal assistant stuff on Ollama and be totally fine with that. Another thing I did is I've been getting into other local processes for like processing like text to speech. I use one called Kokoro.
Yeah.
Yes, I use Kokoro, and the way I have it set up is through something called MLX Audio. It's a Mac specific thing for Mac Silicon. Basically just runs as a server on my computer. Then my Mac Mini hits that endpoint through the Tailscale address, generates the audio as an MP3, sends it back to the Mac Mini where it's stored and then served via a SvelteKit app. So what I was able to do with my chat assistant, my chat UI, was build a really quick text-to-speech speaker button. I click the button and it reads any message. That also enabled some other neat ideas, which I'll talk about a little bit. But you can run text-to-speech entirely on your local machine. And what I found is, especially with this Kokoro, the voice quality is super good. I started with Piper, and it was like very like 1990s kind of computer voice. But with Kokoro, man, the quality is way good enough that I could have this read me an audio. I could have it generate an audiobook, honestly.
Yeah,
and it would
I've used it, and you can run
good.
it in the browser with Transformers.js as well. I've used it in the browser before. You have to use a slightly smaller model, and it's not as good, but it's still extremely impressive of how good it is. You know, we've gone from like, we had like Bonzi Buddy in like 95, and then we went to like 2021 with very similar quality, and then it's just in the last couple of years it's gotten so much better.
And if you want to see all of the errors in your application, you'll want to check out Sentry at sentry.io/syntax. You don't want a production application out there that, well, you have no visibility into in case something is blowing up and you might not even know it. So head on over to sentry.io/syntax. Again, we've been using this tool for a long time and it totally rules. All right. Yeah, so for me, I'd like to move as much of this stuff locally as possible, and Kokoro runs totally fine next to anything running on my laptop, and since it's all on the same network, it's just communicating back and forth via the Tailscale URL. So really nice there. Let's talk about app ideas. I've kind of dropped some of the app ideas or stuff that I've been working on or talking about through here, but like some of the app ideas. So we talked a lot about giving this like personal assistant stuff. Like what can a personal assistant do? But what about like, I have my personal assistant sending off agents to build personal software. And I did that through a mothership app, which is basically, I built a chat UI that I can chat, I can spawn new agents, I can work with my beads and projects, and then I can add on to that with individual personal software things. So one thing that Courtney and I have been talking about having forever is that anytime she asks me, what do I want for dinner this week? I say, I have no clue. My brain can't think of a single thing you've ever made in your entire life. So to augment that, I'm going to be taking photos of the meals she makes when she makes them, and it auto-categorizes them, it auto-catalogs them, and it puts them into a bank. So I could say, give me one of each style of food, or give me food ideas, and it can give me food ideas through that bank. So I have meal tracking in there now, and it's just building this database. Now how that's working is it's just taking the photo from my camera, and since it's all running locally, it's just throwing in my file system of the app. And then for database stuff, let me tell you, the number one database for this stuff is just a stinking JSON file. Man, I get instant saves, I get all this stuff. I don't have to log in. I don't have user accounts or user access. It's just one person, but it's just writing it to a JSON file every single time you even or type a character. It is awesome that it just does that. And then now, like, it's trivial for the LLM to read through that JSON file. Or what you can even do is I built in slash commands to my chat UI that can actually just run script. So it could pull certain ones with JavaScript instead of having to do an LLM call for that.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple episodes ago where I was like, I just want a brain that I can throw things into. And surprisingly, I didn't get any suggestions from the audience of like, I just want something where if I have something that I'm remembering, like the lug nuts on the tractor at the cottage are this weird 5/16 fine thread. And I just want somewhere to put that, or measuring windows in our house, or measuring a gap where we need to find like a dresser or something in our house. Like all of these little things where I just need to remember. I always think like, where should I put that? Do I put that in an Apple Note? A lot of people email it to themselves, and like I just want to be able to, very similar to how you use like a reminder, just be able to speak that into some sort of brain and have it come back. I found this thing called Sublime, which is unfortunately not Sublime Text, sublime.app. I haven't tried it yet, but it seems to be that, but also a great way to like manage inspiration, bookmarks, like almost like a Pinterest where you would dump things into.
Dude, my chat UI could build that into the chat UI in an afternoon. That's what's so crazy about this stuff. And then you don't have to do some third-party service. You can have it do exactly what you want. So the meal tracking thing was great. Another thing I did was fitness tracking and insights. Right now, I'm just uploading a screenshot of my tonal workouts. It's doing OCR on that text, and it's cataloging that workout. And then if I give it my goals, it can come back and say, hey, I noticed you're doing a lot of traps, and your traps are fine.
Yeah.
So like cut the trap workout and do something else here. Like just to be able to get that insight over time.
Like Apple Health as well. You
could hook it into Apple Health,
and push and pull data. I think a lot about that with software that I pay for yearly or monthly, that I don't use all of the features. So Macro Factor, probably one of the best apps in the world for tracking calories and all of that, like health and fitness. If you've used like Daily Burn in the past, Macro Factor, Scott recommended it, probably 2 or 3 years ago. And I've been paying like $200 a year for that thing. And I mostly just use it for tracking what I'm eating. And there's some nice features, right? You can scan a barcode and you can change how, like if you're having 1.5 servings of something. And they also have this new AI input where you can take a photo and describe what it is and it will break it into. But I just keep looking at that being like, this can't be that hard, A couple graphs of where you're at. There's got to be APIs for all of these foods available somewhere. I'm sure that exists. So like $200 a year, that's quite a bit. And same with like I use Strong Lifts, which is like a workout tracking app. And I look at that every time. It's like $60 a year, which is not too bad. Like I don't mind paying. I like that. The developer's kind of independent and whatnot. But I often think like I'm just pressing a button every set. Yeah. And it's tracking how much weight there is, and there's an Apple Watch integration, which is an absolute must. So I'd have to build something like that. I don't know if $60 is worth moving away from that. But there's a lot of little things where I'm just getting nickeled and dime every single year. I'm paying for it. I'm thinking, I wonder if I could just build this myself.
I know. I was thinking about that. And then some of the stuff I just threw a sub agent on and say, hey, can you throw this together? And then like 15 minutes later, it's like, done. I'm like, what? Mm-hmm. What?
To be clear, sometimes the answer is absolutely not, and it just it will kick out a whole bunch of garbage, and you wasted a bunch of your time. We're not being those guys that are just like, you can just think anything into existence, like.
No, but
sometimes
I also have
it just
good
duplicates
bones
all of my CSS. Like we got bigger problems as well. But I think we're on a good path right now.
We'll talk about this in the using AI effectively. But I have good bones. I have a good system. I have good files, good agents to work on this stuff. And I use my CSS framework Graffiti, which has good AI documentation. And so like the agent says, do not add a new class unless like this UI element does not exist already in Graffiti. If like do not like all those things, and it actually has been really adhering well to that. So that's been like positive in terms of keeping the structure. That said, I'm sure some of these files are monstrous. Another thing I added in here is like journaling, where like it will custom prompt me every day at like 1:00 and like ask me a question where I can like respond to it. It will be able to pull out and tag things and like mark things as wisdom. It has like 200 prompts that I haven't yet to see because I just told this to do this last night. And then it's going to do it via audio. So I can just push record in the app and speak, and then it's going to do that speech to text and then auto categorization, cataloging, and then putting them into as markdown files into a folder. This is a good one because it has a little bit of a background about like my concussion and my recovery. I had it build a personal guided meditation. And using the text to speech, the voice is so good, it actually puts an ambient noise beyond it. So it's using FFmpeg to layer an ambient noise with the text to speech. And it is as good as Headspace or anything, but it's saying like, Scott, like, recovery is a journey. Like it's talking to me exactly about my issue and my like health thing with my concussion, and it's talking to me directly. It's like, man, I've never wanted to do meditation, and I'm so like, now I have guided meditations that are like really tuned to my exact situation. And man, that was really, really like kind of an eye-opening thing for like, wow, it can do this? That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with all of the stuff that you can do. I built something where my kids have this like Yoto, and I needed to like upload a whole bunch of MP3s that I had, and then set icons for each of them and set some album art for them. And like this, like they have a really nice UI for doing it, but it's just like slow being able to do it. You know, I wanted to upload like 20 of them at once. So I just just figured out reverse engineered the API and built a little script to be able to find them in the thing. AI is so good at doing fuzziness, where things might not be named exactly as you would expect it. And it's so good at just being able to like look at the directories. Oh, here's the one that you're looking for. And here's what the names of the actual files, where this one had a dash in it. This one didn't have a space in it. You know, like so much of my like script writing over the past 10 years has been so built on rigidness, and then maybe writing some like regexes to make it a little bit more flexible. And the like fuzziness of data and data being a little bit weird has been so much better with all these AI agents.
There's something really powerful about software that like you wouldn't have the patience or time to write, but like now that you can throw an agent on it and have it do it in no time, it unlocks a bunch of access to like little helpful things that you just straight up wouldn't have. For me, I've just been thinking about like, what can I augment about the friction in my life here? Whether that's reminding me about to-dos or again, like helping my concussion recovery, etc. So that's where my brain's been with a lot of this stuff lately.
I was doing my Christmas lights this year, and I went all out on building window frames. So all of the windows in our house, both of the garage doors and the entrance to our house, I built out of PVC pipe. I built these window frames that have every about 3 inches. I drilled holes in them, and you poke these little LED lights in, and then our house was just like lit up from the sky. It was amazing. And in order to do this, I needed to make sure that the spacing of the LEDs was exactly the same, because I wanted, you drive by people's houses and you can tell that they don't exactly have the LEDs in the corners of the windows. And what I wanted was just like CSS grid. I wanted exact even spacing all the way across. And if you just, most people in the industry just say, 3 inches is about good. But the thing is that like over a run of, I don't know, 20, 30 lights, if you're off even 1 or 2 millimeters or half a millimeter over 20 lights, it really adds up. And then you have an LED that's too close to the edge or not far or too far away from the edge, and it just looks weird. So what I wanted is to plan exactly, not 3 inches, but however many millimeters it was going to be. So ideally 3 inches, and then what it did is it figured out if it needed to bump that value up or down a little bit in order to get even spacing. So I figured that out, and then it also provided me with a cut sheet, meaning that I could cut the PVC pipe exactly. So it told me exactly how long each piece of PVC pipe should go. I told it I bought it in 10-foot lengths. So what it did is it figured out the minimum waste, meaning that like, okay, well, like you take the long piece from this window and the short piece from this window, and those add up to like 98% of the actual thing. So you're not just cutting them and ending up with a bunch of pieces that you can't use. It thought about it all the way ahead of it. And then what else did it do? One of ours had an arch in there. So I had it figure out, I gave it all the measurements of how tall the middle of the arch was and how tall the sides of the arch were. And it figured out how much of a degree I needed to angle the connectors, which was really good. And then what else did I do with it? Oh, I had it output a 3D printable jig so that I could just put the PVC in, drill a hole, move it forward. It would click into place, drill a hole. That was not perfect, so I ended up modeling something myself in Fusion, but it did a pretty good job at making a little jig that I used for the first couple ones.
Can I say I accidentally killed 2 hot ends on my 3D printer in the past week or so?
Doing what?
Dude, I'm trying to do the Gridfinity base where it does a PLA and then PETG and then whatever, it stacks them.
Oh yeah, stacking, yeah.
And in that process of switching the 2 materials, I've gotten 2 clogs so bad that a hot push doesn't work, extraction doesn't work. I got to take apart the whole thing. I had to take apart the gears because the gears were stripping the filament, so I couldn't even pull it out. And 2 hot ends. I know, granted, they're like $35 or something, but like 2 hot ends dead in like 3 prints maybe. I was so frustrated when the second one died. I was like, this is going to kill me. And I'm trying to do the hot push where you get the thing, you hold it and you're pushing and it's like billion degrees and you don't want to ruin anything.
Did you do a hot pull?
There's not enough it's like it's flush to the top of the thing. You couldn't do a hot pull.
I did a hot pull. I have the same one as you. I had
No, I'm saying like the amount of filament coming out of the top of the hot end is flush with the top of the hot end. So there's nowhere to even reach in to pull.
Oh, yeah, and since you can't push it out, you can't. Oh,
Crazy.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to take the whole thing apart. I had like 1,000 screws and everything laid out. I like got really familiar with the insides
I once
of that
melted the end of some of the filament and stuck it on a little piece and let it cool. And then you heat up the nozzle and then you do a pull. I had a little fleck as a marble filament. I had a fleck of the marble stuck in the thing, and that killed it as well.
Yeah, I could still try that. I don't know if it's just the filament that I bought. It was the same filament that killed it both times, so I'm like, just throw that filament out.
It's probably a bad batch. Anyways, we should do an updated 3D printing episode because we're coming up on a year now.
What?
Or maybe not the year. Mine. I'm coming up on a year on mine, and all the comments on our 3D printing episode were, see it and talk to us in a year. It's going to be collecting dust.
I could use a second one.
Honestly, I have a second one, and I'm thinking about like, I could use a bigger one.
Yeah, right. Whatever the next bamboo one they come out that's bigger. Yeah, I know. I just like built my whole workshop over the whatever. And
it looks good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Man. Yeah. Anyways, that's another show. What else? Deal finders is something I've written several times over. I've used this to find like filament is a really good example where like sometimes filament will go extremely cheap, especially on like Amazon returns. People get something on Amazon, it doesn't work, they return it, and then they put it, sometimes it's like marked down like half off. So I bought a little bot that would just scrape the Amazon API and then alert me if something pops up, things like that. I've done that many times over the years, and it is so much better when you can use like a proxy man and just give AI the actual output. Be like, this is what a request looks like. Here's the curl command, here's the actual return values, and then it can write types for all the return data and then go ahead and re-replicate all of those requests.
Yeah, it's a wild world.
Yes. I'm going to install this cloud bot. I've been holding off because everybody's talking about it and everyone's all excited about it. And I was like, yeah, I probably should spend a little bit of time on that. I think it'd be fun. But I got to figure out this but the personal brain thing, I'm going to figure this out because this is high on my list of things that I wish I had.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with just Markdown and JSON if this isn't like public-facing software. So that low friction of it has been one of the most revelatory things for me, is like, oh, right, when you're just saving everything to a JSON file, everything gets way more simple, right? So that's all I got. Wes, do you have anything else?
That's it.
Cool. We want to do sick picks and then get out of here?
Yeah.
Cool. Sick picks. Do you have any?
Yeah, I'm going to sick pick a Roku. So we are mostly, in our house, we are a Google TV family for the most part, meaning that we have a lot of these.
Do you have a yard sign?
Chromecast. Sorry?
In this house. Do you have a yard sign? In this house,
we are a Chromecast family. No, like we have a bunch of these like
Cloudflare.
Yeah, Cloudflare. We use only Cloudflare and Chrome in this house. No, I have a bunch of these like Chromecasts that you plug in, right? And they're fantastic and amazing. And of course, because they're fantastic and amazing, it seems like Google's going to phase them out. But we recently put a TV in our gym, and the problem with the TV in the gym was that if you're on the treadmill or if you're like blasting something, it's kind of loud for everybody else in the house. So I was trying to figure out like, how do I get the TV sound through my AirPods without having to pair them with the TV? Because like that's a pain in the butt. Pairing Bluetooth, I have this pair of headphones, which I have paired to my phone and my computer, and like switching between them, absolutely awful. And apparently if you have an Apple TV, switching AirPods is a little easier. But I was trying to figure out like, how do I get the audio through my phone? And Chromecast doesn't do that. And somebody on Twitter says if you get a Roku, you can watch stuff on the Roku, but then use the Roku app to pipe the audio through your phone, which then in turn, if you got headphones on, it goes right through that. And it works amazingly well. It works so well. There's no lag in it. It sounds really good. And now you can just like watch something on the Roku on the TV, but then have all of the audio come through your phone or through your AirPods or whatever Bluetooth headphones you're working on. And I was amazed at how well it worked. Plus, like the Roku UI, very responsive, very nice and fast. It's like $25 or something for a 4K stick. It's a good product. We have a Roku TV at the cottage, but I've never like bought one of their sticks before, and I might be converted to a Roku guy.
Yeah, I do the same thing with the Chromecasts everywhere. But yeah, it feels like that is one of those products that Google's like, this is really good, we're just going to ignore it forever, which drives me nuts because some of them just get like frustrating. Like I can't get mine to connect to my speaker reliably or anything like that. So yeah, it's Chromecast. I'm going to sick pick a iPhone app. If you're an iPhone user, you might know that the File app sucks dearly, and every single File Explorer app that you find on the App Store also sucks, because I don't know what it is about File apps that people make, but every one of them is like, you don't just want to access your files. Let me tell you what you want. You want a browser, you want a VPN, you want to connect to Google Drive and all these things and do a cloud file syncing. I just want something that is Finder-like, a file system manager that's up to date. I can connect to my servers, SSH, whatever, and just get access to my dang files on my own network. So I actually was complaining about this on Twitter, as one does, and I was given the suggestion of the app from Booger Butt Cheek on Twitter. Booger Butt Cheek suggested FTP Manager, and it's a nice simple little app, nice little files app, does everything I need it to do and nothing more, and is free, works super well, very minimal. So shout out Booger Butt Cheek for that suggestion.
That accesses your local files. It's nothing. You're not even using the FTP feature.
It's called FTP Manager because it can FTP, but I just have my local things connected via SSH on here, and they just show up as sources, and then that's it. I use it for the files on my phone, and then the SSH into my machines on my network.
Oh, so you can access your computer's file system as well.
Nice and easy.
Man.
You can do that in the Files app, but I found something very frustrating. It caches the life out of those files. I was like looking at a file and then looking at my computer and just being like, why is this different? There's no way to clear the cache. There's like no sync setting because it's supposed to be just accessing it. And I'm just like, why? Why are you doing this?
Don't give them a button.
Yeah. Now they direct you to Preview, the Preview app that they now have on the phone. They direct you to that to open all photos. So I have a screenshot in my Files app. I click on that screenshot, and it opens it in the Preview app. And then that is like, it's like, don't just open just show me what the screenshot looks like. Yeah, it drives me nuts.
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna check that out. That's a problem I have is like sometimes I want to access my computer from the go, and if that's the case, I usually use the Dropbox app actually, because most things that I care about I'll throw in a Dropbox app, or if it's like code, I usually have it on GitHub or whatever. But I'm not a dual computer guy. I have my laptop, so I usually have it with me.
Yeah, this Tailscale stuff has changed my tune on that. I think for my next setup, I'm going to get a big old beefy Mac Studio there, and then I'm going to get a cheapo MacBook Air, and take that with me everywhere and just do everything between the two, because running the dev server on that through Tailscale, you still get the hot reloading and all that stuff going on. It just, the processing's being done on a different machine.
Thin client, I'm in. I want I often, every time I take a flight, I think I love the 16-inch MacBook Pro, but you can't work on it on a plane. It's way too, it's too big. It's just like the 15-inch, you could just open it enough to work on a plane, but the 16-inch is too big. Or planes are getting smaller. I think that's the same. That's happening as well.
Oh, yeah. All right, awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, all that good stuff. Let us know, are you building any cool personal software? Did you get inspired by any of this? Let us know what you are building, what you want to build, or do you think all this is stupid and you hate it? Peace.